thank you very much. I take the opportunity that Amir gave me to talk in English. So thank you for providing this situation. Yeah, it's also for me difficult to speak quick on the project in a very short time. So yeah. So here I'm using the old folio slides, so that's my new position is here. Sorry, position. Yeah, so that's easy. So yeah, thank you for inviting me for presenting a project which is officially ended, but still I'm continuing with the help of the Bad Institute of Theology, Islamic Theology. So the project is originally it was a possibility in 2017 to apply for a short-term project, and that the plan was already started when I was employed by Corpus Quantum as a wissenschaftlicher Mitarbeiter to work with the manuscripts. So we started to reach the Iranian collections of the Quran, which is out of access of Corpus Quantum. Corpus Quantum project is mostly concentrated on the European and the collections in the US. So we tried to negotiate with the authorities, and we created this project. The main objectives of the project was, first of all, of course, we have to have the access to the collections. To convince, the most difficult part of that is to convince the authorities that it's a beneficial work for all sides. And then digitization of the Quranic manuscripts in the in Iranian collections, which is unfortunately is in many cases not done in a proper shape. Then cataloging Quranic manuscript, and then making a digital edition of the Quranic manuscript in collections. And also we had the opportunity to make some datings by radiocarbon analysis. So we have several collections in Iran. We have a lot of manuscripts, as I would say, as large as what we have in Turkey. And just to have you an idea, we had the chance to visit the Turkish collections. They have, with great success, digitized a lot of Quran manuscripts there, and the amount is 10 times bigger than what we have in all other collections in the world. So it's in Turkey. I would say we have the same situation in Iran, but the problem is we don't have even this step done, or not properly done, so we don't have really knowledge. We have some rumors about Aslan Quds, for example, but we don't have details. But we have several collections in Iran in different places. Our main concentration was as a kind of example, the National Museum, which also they were very supportive and interested to collaborate. So we started, we went to the depot. It's also a great success, yeah, because you always visit the museums, you visit on the vitrina, things, small, beautiful things, but the most important things are always hidden. So we had access to the depot, we visited the manuscript there, and we made a digitization of 8,000 images, and then we creating an online website. It's a kind of ongoing project. It's not officially done. This is the Persian version, but it would be also English. It's the National Museum and also several other collections, and there is a long list of the manuscripts that they have, the cataloging. The next step is we go to the content. And so it's my project Irankoran is a kind of extension to what Corpus Coranicum is doing. The Corpus Coranicum concentration is on the earliest manuscripts of the Quran to reconstruct what the so-called the rasm of the Quran, the spelling of the words of the Quran. And so, because the concentration of the Corpus Coranicum project is on the reconstruction of the history of the text of the Quran, for them it's more important to concentrate on the earlier stages. But my project, because it was smaller, we decided to extend it also, not only stay with the rasm, because mostly the manuscripts that you find in, at least the manuscripts that we had access, are not the Hijazi manuscripts, the earliest ones. So they are Kufi manuscripts from later period, not that later that people always say 3rd, 4th century. No, they have also very early. There are really early Kufi manuscripts. But what is not, it's never done, or it's just done very in a very small scale, is to look at the content. So it's a very small page of the Quran. I mean, the size is very small. It's like it's a booklet, yeah. And this small manuscript, you see a big picture, has a lot of information in it, and this information are always dismissed for a simple reason, or I don't know, it's not a reason actually, it's an ignorance, that these are important. Yeah? These are very important. Every dot is important, let alone the beautiful stuff, the artistical issues that you always have, and it's also worth to put attention on the specialists of artistry. They did a lot in that direction, but the content of the Quran, they never really looked. I mean, they had no interest. If we don't say that they could not read the text, yeah, it's sometimes the case. So it has a lot of things. First of all, the rasm, then the reading and the numbering system, everything you find in one page of the Quran. So I just give you an example because I had a question from a colleague. What would be the relevance of this for understanding of the text for the understanding of the text? This is a good example. So, and a very kind of controversial verse in the Quran. So, إنه لعلم لسان. So the canonical reading is إنه لعلم لسان, and the red dots always are the basic reading of the text. But as you can hopefully see, we have the other color for another possible reading, which is لأنه لعلم لسان, which has completely different meaning. Yes, and it's also very controversial to whom it refers. Yeah? So it's not the Quran which contains the ilm of everything, or the Prophet has the ilm, but it's somebody else perhaps. It depends from which tradition you're coming. Sunni tradition says that Jesus, and the Shia tradition says Ali, so we have different opinions. So yes, there is also connotations for understanding of the text. And these things, of course, you find in the Islamic tradition, exegetical tradition, but there are cases that you only find in the manuscripts. They didn't stay because of the censorship. Yeah? So, possible, but we have the material. And the chance with the material is that people could not read, maybe. Yeah? So that's why they survived. So a reading, a shaz, according to Michel Marx today's presentation, the later shaz understanding survived. So to digitize, I'm going to add also another point here that, how I have to go back, yes. Okay, we need all of this information, yes? And we have to have it, it's impossible, I'm really claiming this, to have a critical edition of any manuscripts like this on paper. It's impossible. Yeah? So because of lots of information that we have. So the classical ways of critical editions are not very helpful. The only solution is the digital solution. And so we need a real powerful solution, digital solution for this. The steps has a good part of the things has been done by previous projects like Corpus the Pioneer project in that direction and other projects. We try to extend the direction. So for each word of the Quran, at least we need the four most important information: the rasm, the reading, the vocalization, and the verse separation. These things are possible for each word of the Quran. We have to annotate, as we have today these days several times hearing, annotate this information for each manuscript. So for such a thing, you need a very complicated system of connections and database. And I'm just showing you some simplicity, and I'm also not very in details. So, and then this is a handmade of what we wish. So this is the page that I have shown you, and this is the rest of the text. We have it exactly here with today's digital version. And then you have the same lesson with the vocalization. The vocalization are existing on the text, so we have translated the dots into the modern vocal system, and then we have the variant readings also existing in the text with the other color. Usually the red is the basic color. The whole of the Quran is colored by red. And then you have other colors, sometimes more than 4 or 5 colors you get for different readings. So here, for example, this is a very famous example. So not only فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا, which is the canonical reading, we have also فَوَسَطْنَا in this manuscript. Or we have this kind of رَبَّهُمُ بِهُمُ. وَحُسِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ is the canonical reading, but here we have وَحَسَّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. Or we have here مَا هِيَ without ha. So this kind of, not only the variant reading in the sense of vocalization, but also in the rasm. It's also a rasm in variant reading. Yeah? So the rasm variant reading relevant issues exist in the manuscript. If you see here, it's kind of, it's not a correction, it's a variant reading. So because people just misunderstand it, I had headache of these people who say, corrections in the Quran we found. These are not corrections. You are a scholarly tradition. Yeah? So this is a variant reading of the same surah. Then, so this is the difficult job that we have to do. And we have also the reading, the verse separation, or how to count, the counting system of the verses, which we know from the tradition that it's a kind of regional tradition. So we have from different regions. If you have these things annotated and registered in the database, then you can easily discover from which region comes or originated this manuscript. From Basra, from Kufa, from Medina, and these manuscripts are all old manuscripts. They are not from 5th, 6th century, Islamic. They are going back to the 2nd, 3rd century, if not the 1st century. So this is a short example of rasm. So here we have an aleph, which is in the manuscript it was not sayyi'uhu, it was sayyi'atuhu, and a later person corrected in his own sense to sayyi'uhu. So we have to submit also this kind of information. So we need more than one layer. It's very difficult to think because the manuscript has several layers. The original layer and the upper layer, which is a kind of later modifications from other scholars. So for this is a form that we we submit the information, so we have different possibilities, alternatives. We can add also the other alternatives. At the very end, we get a lot of alternatives, not a lot of, but the possible alternatives existing in the manuscript for each word. And then we can submit, yes, it has also an upper layer, and the upper layer is amended because the aleph is deleted here. Yeah? So we have this kind of things. So detailed we need to submit. We have to submit everything, if it is ending word of the verse, if it is ending word of the line, and so on. Now, I'm just going to give you a very nice example, which is very famous, Surah 23, Surah Al-Mu'minun, the verses which reads the idea of asking about the attributes or the characteristics of God. So the Quran asks, قُلْ لِمَنِ الْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, and the answer is سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. The next verse is قُلْ مَنْ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ السَّبْعِ وَرَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. Yes? And again, the answer, the canonical reading, except for the Abu Amr, is سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. And again, قُلْ مَنْ بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. So it's a kind of grammatical rereading of the verses in the Basran tradition, and Abu Amr is a representative of that tradition. They said, oh, it's not a good grammatical point, so it's better to correct it to سَيَقُولُونَ Allah. Yeah? So, مَنْ سَيَقُولُونَ Allah. So this case, and this is Tübingen manuscript. You see here, the person had the same difficulties, so he added the aleph. Yeah. So this you find in the corpus, but what we have here from the National Museum is very special because the original manuscript also for the first one is Sayaquluna Allah. Not only Sayaquluna Lillah. So this does not exist in the tradition, but it exists in the manuscript. And it's original. It's not a mistake, as many people say. These scribes were not knowledgeable, they made this mistake. No, it was intentionally, because you see Allahu. It's vocalized. It was double taught. It's not just falsely wrote Allahu. It's vocalized. So we have the original. As you see here, we have this kind of sign marking that showing that the original hand has Allah, but in a later period it was removed. Yeah, because to make it compatible with the canonical. And then we have vocalization of the base, and then you have the other reading. And the other reading is Allahu, and then because I have to go back because the original manuscript has all three Allahu, and he says, of course, there is an idea that you have to read Lillahi, so he put a dash on Aleph, not to read Aleph, and Lillahi. Yeah, so he has also delivered the other possible reading. So, and it's not only this, we have also other readings. For example, Rabbul Arsh Azim May, this is the original, the base reading, and we have Rabbul Arsh Azimu, also possible. Yeah? So he suggests this. And the other. So, and the last question on our project is dating, which is very important because the whole thing that we are looking for is the reconstruction of the history of the text. And what is lacking always dates. Yeah, we don't have dates. Yeah, of course we have dates. When you go to the Iranian collections, in many cases you find dates. Yeah, Katabahu who Hassan ibn Ali. Of course, one of the imams who has written this beautiful Kufi manuscript, old manuscript. So, but I call it pseudo colophon because we had the opportunity to make a dating, and you see that the dates are, according to the C14 at least, are between 800 90 to 980, so much later than the time of Hassan ibn Ali. So, and this is, it's a kind of complex and a kind of, what do you call it, all together. It's a project which covers all of these features together as a sample, and we provide this tool to other projects to do the same.
Thank
you very much for your attention.